What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys or girls of all ages? Today, we're talking about exclusives and why they really don't matter anymore. So, to kind of go down a bit of a history of exclusives, exclusives used to be a way, kind of like an incentive for people to buy consoles. For example, back in, obviously like the NES days, one of the big top sellers was Super Mario Brothers. NES days, it'd be Super Mario World, so on and so forth. You had exclusives because those were the things that kind of pushed people into buying on your platform. But I would say ever since the PS4 generation, exclusives have really lost a lot of that inherent value. And as we see the game industry kind of work to more this corporatization of the industry, a lot of developers and publishers are asking themselves now the question, why would we be exclusive to one platform when that could hurt sales? And that's the truth. Really what it's going to come down to is the reason why exclusives are dying is because exclusives don't sell as well as compared to multiplats. Sony recently put out a list of the top selling games on their platform. A lot of Call of Duties, a lot of Minecrafts, even some Maddens in there. And the reason why these are the top selling games, one is because they're wildly popular. It's just a fucking fact. And two, these are brands that everyone has access to, so thus everyone could play them. So if, for example, if Joe down the street has an Xbox, but he wants to play the latest Call of Duty, he could play it on his Xbox. And then if Karen down the street wants to play the latest Call of Duty, she has a PlayStation, she could buy it. Those units sold all add up at the end of the day. But the reason why I also like it is just because these franchises are wildly popular. And the fact is, exclusives have to compete in the same landscape with these third-party games, which it's never a win. It's never a win. Listen, while I love PlayStation's games, I think they make some of the best fucking games out there. They also don't sell that well. Like, we're seeing these budgets for these games. There's now news about like Air Galactic being $250 million game. How in the world are they going to make back that money off a $70 copy sold on a platform that, let's be honest here, has not even cracked 100 million yet? It's like, and even then, in the case, in what you see in a lot of these exclusive cases, it's not even guaranteed to sell 100 million just because it's on the platform that has 100 million sold. Reason why is because not everyone's interested in Air Galactic or the whatever PlayStation exclusives coming out. And PlayStation has kind of come to the realization that there are people on PC, there are people on Xbox that want to play these games. And while we don't know the scope of what they're going to do with Xbox, because I think it's a kind of a case-by-case basis, to be honest, we can see Sony like totally doing day and date. In fact, they have been doing day and date with their, I guess you would say, their live service games, and with games that they've had like a third-party publishing kind of deal with, but the game is also still a third-party game. It basically just Sony financed the game. In the case of a game like Lost Souls aside, in the case of something like, well, no, Concord was owned by Sony, so a reminder of that game. The fact is, just at the end of the day, there is not enough. People aren't interested in these games when they're just tied down to one platform. Sony is looking at it like, okay, what's the scope of all this? What's the range? Like, let's say, for example, Uncharted 5 gets announced and it's coming out next year. How many copies do you think is going to be sold on PlayStation and then on top of PC and then potentially Xbox down the road? You know, that's the kind of question they've been asking themselves. And I think the fact is, because game budgets are gone insane, again, 200 million for fucking Intergalactic, the games aren't selling as well as they used to, because I think really the average consumer just doesn't really care. And I think a lot of hardcore gamers just are kind of done with these single player linear story driven games, to be honest. And it's just, I think what's happening is Sony's come to the realization we got to be a publisher, and not a publisher in name for our console only. We need to be a publisher in like we're a third-party publisher just with a platform that helps kind of levitate some of this loss. And that's it. That's what they're essentially they're going to become. And for the record, I think that's a good thing. I think it's good for Sony to drop the exclusivity. I think it's good for them to say, hey, we're going to just put games wherever we can put them, as long as it runs to our standards, what we want these games to run at. You know, 1440p, 60 FPS. You know, I just came up with a random standard, but like, I think that's what they should do going forward: is drop the exclusivity, have certain standards, and if a console can meet those standards without us having to spend more time, I guess the best way to put it is optimizing the game, then sure, why not put it on there? So I think for the record, this also kind of eliminates Nintendo from Sony, you know, doing deals with. But then again, you don't know for sure, because then in case you saw Lego Horizon. So, and I do see Sony kind of letting some of their IPs out through Bandai Namco, and you know, like with everybody's everybody's golf hot shot. Like apparently that didn't do super well, but it's like I could see Sony doing that. They're going to start leveraging IPs, and so they don't have a direct innovation though through Bandai Namco, and they're going to leverage IPs also with TV shows, movies, and whatever the fuck they could come up with. Hell, in the case of the fucking Last of Us, they literally came up with fucking skateboards for it. Yeah, I ain't kidding. They actually have a skateboard deck for the Last of Us series. It's actually kind of cool looking. So, yeah, this is the future. And I have to say, if you are one of those people that just sits there and brags about exclusives, but you really don't play them, I really don't consider you a PlayStation fan. I consider you the annoying guy who needs to shut the hell up, and someone, for the love of God, stop giving him fucking bagels to eat. He needs to starve. I don't know, it's just me kind of ranting and rambling, but it's like, yeah, exclusivity is dying, and that's a good thing. I think when you create a lower barrier of entry for people to play games, more people get to play games. I don't like the idea of, you know, basically locking people out just because they didn't buy the right platform. That's stupid. If someone on Xbox wants to play The Last of Us, they should be able to play The Last of Us. If someone on PlayStation wants to play Halo, they should play Halo. They should be allowed to play Halo. And the guy on PC wants to sit there, play Age of Empire while running fucking Uncharted 4 behind the scenes, go ahead. I say go for it. I feel like this is where the real push for the game industry is going. Getting rid of exclusivity altogether, unless you're Nintendo, and kind of creating this giant ecosystem. That's really where I think Sony's going to start competing with Microsoft, is the ecosystem and the hardware. Because if they can actually come up with good hardware at a reasonable price, and they could create a good ecosystem, I think they could give Microsoft a serious run for their money. And yes, Microsoft is kind of the top dog right now when it comes to the service aspect. Because while there's a lot of controversies going off Game Pass still has a lot of subscriptions. Meanwhile, PlayStation Plus not doing so hot lately. And hell, even with just the games they pay, I'm just like, what the fuck? Really? WWE? Really? Now we getting the yearly games in there? No, come on. Sony, put The Last of Us Part 2 remaster in. Hell, why the hell is the Ratchet & Clank trilogy from the PS2 days not on it already? Why is the rest of Jak and Daxter not on there already? Just, but that's a whole different thing. But maybe we'll talk about that in the next video. So until next time, guys, this is That PlayStation Gamer sign out. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that YouTube out of BS. Let me know, are you guys happy exclusivities seem like they're going away with the dinosaur? Or are you someone who still thinks exclusives matter? Because, well, I got a chart that says otherwise. So, thank you for watching. Bye.